Good morning. Happy Friday. As it is the end of the week, wanted to talk some economics today and wanted to cover a topic that I think is going to be increasingly important in the coming years, and that is inflation. Inflation is the rate at which our money loses its value. This is a much less precise measurement than a lot of other economic indicators like GDP growth or earnings growth or things like that are very easy to quantify. The rate of inflation is much less precise. And really the reason for that is because in this country we use fiat money versus real money. Real money is money that is backed by a tangible asset versus fiat money that's backed simply by government promises. So some of you may remember in this country at one point we used a gold standard, and that was when we had real money, because you could take your paper currency, you could go to the bank and you could say, I want my gold. You could demand your gold and it had a fixed value, and the government can't print gold. So banks were required to keep gold reserves on hand, and they were required to provide that gold to you should you request it. Whereas with fiat money in today's world, it's really backed by nothing, just a promise from the government. So when we made the transition to fiat currency, it greatly increased the influence of our central bank, the Federal Reserve. And it greatly increased its power over the rate of inflation, because it allowed them to print money with reckless abandon. They didn't have to worry about whatever the gold supply there may have been to back up that money. They could just print it. There's nothing backing the money anymore. So it greatly increased their influence over our monetary supply and ultimately over inflation itself. So they use things like quantitative easing to pump money into the economy when they feel like it's struggling, rather than letting the economic cycle run its course. So that transition and that process and this new role of the Federal Reserve has ultimately led to a culture that promotes spending over saving. Because when you have fiat money and the monetary supply is constantly fluctuating and increasing, that also is subsequently affecting our buying power. And when you're constantly increasing the monetary supply, that's basic economics. When you increase the supply of a certain thing, you diminish its value because now there's more of it, right? So to illustrate that, it'd be like if you had $100 in your bank account today. Well, today you could buy 100 slices of pizza with that $100. Well, a year from now, you'd still have that same $100 in your account, but let's say there was a 2% inflation rate. Well, a year from now, then you'd only be able to buy 98 slices of pizza. So that's what I mean when I say it promotes a culture of spending, because it means you might as well spend it now. You might as well buy that pizza now because you're getting 100 slices versus 98 a year from now. So why save your money when you can get more today than you're going to be able to get tomorrow? So, that's why I always say savings accounts are such bad ways to, invest your savings, essentially, because in a good savings account, you may get 1% interest rate, maybe 1.5%. But if the inflation rate is 2 or 3%, well, then that difference is a net loss to you. Your money grows by 1%, but your buying power decreases by 3%. You're losing. So it's another reason why I always, will favor other investment vehicles. You definitely have to strive always to beat the rate of inflation. There's an old saying in monetary economics that the only thing worse than $1 today is $1 tomorrow. So hope that helps. Hope that sheds a little bit of insight for a few people out there. Hope everyone has a great weekend.